Have you ever been so happy to be a 4? Haha. So I took my Enneagram test, Enneagram, eeny, meeny, miny, mogram, yay games. Anyway, my Enneagram test, Enneagram, still don't know how to say it. Probably should have looked that up before I started. But anyway, it's this test where you get a result of like what number you are. I think there are 9 types. So 1 through 9, you can be a type 1 through 9. And I took this test, and originally I had notes of like the answers I chose to get this, but it's probably for the best because I don't want you to necessarily copy me. You should take this test and find out who you are, because who you are is probably very different than me or similar, but you should come to your own conclusions. Also, when I started doing the notes, my audacity has decided to just be a jerk and do the spinning wheel of death, and thus causing me to lose half of my notes. And because I was deleting them as I go, as I do, to not lose my space, they disappeared forever. So scrapping that, we're just going to do this, and that's probably better because it will make this video smaller. So on the screen, I'm just going to put like kind of the scores that I got for each of the types. Here it is on the screen for you. My highest scores were a tie between type 4, which really wasn't a tie. That was my highest one I got. And then type 6 and type 5. My primary Enneagram type is most likely the highest of these scores, which is type 4. I was, I think, originally supposed to take this test in high school, but I didn't because I ended up dropping out because of my family situation. So this is what I got. Personality type 4, the individualist. Are we surprised? I don't think we're surprised. The sensitive, introspective type, expressive, dramatic, self-absorbed, and temperamental. Oh, flaws. Anyway, generally 4s are intuitive, sensitive, impressionable, quiet, introspective, passionate, romantic, elegant, witty, imaginative, and self-expressive. 4s get into conflicts by being moody, emotionally demanding, self-absorbed, withholding, temperamental, dramatic, pretentious, and self-indulgent. At their best, 4s are creative, inspired, honest with themselves, emotionally strong, humane, self-aware, discreet, and self-renewing. Recognizing 4s. Type 4s exemplifies the desire to be ourselves, to be known for who we are, and to know the depths of our hearts. Of all of the types, 4s are the most aware of their own emotional states. They notice when they feel upset, anxious, attracted to another person, or some other more subtle combination of feelings. They pay attention to their different changing emotions and try to determine what their feelings are telling them about themselves, others, and their world. When 4s are more in balance, their exquisite attunement to their inner states enables them to discover deep truths about human nature, to bear compassionate witness to the suffering of others, or to be profoundly honest with themselves about their own motives. When they are less balanced, they can become lost in their feelings, preoccupied with emotional reactions, memories, and fantasies, both negative and positive. 4s are nothing if not subtle and expressive. They might be able to put into words feelings and state that others may recognize but could not have expressed as eloquently. That poem exactly captures how I felt about leaving home. By being emotionally honest and by taking the time to see what they really feel about things, they encourage others to look more deeply to themselves. You're welcome. 4s are also people who care a great deal about beauty and taste. Many 4s, for instance, are involved in artistic pursuits. Even if they are not artistically creative themselves, 4s seek out art, poetry, music, and other expressions that they find beautiful because they feel these things reveal something true about themselves and about human nature. 4s often dress in ways that accentuate their own personal sense of style, but also in ways that symbolically let others know how they are feeling, dressing entirely in black or in shades of violet, for instance. Similarly, they typically decorate their homes with objects and colors that evoke a strong sense of image and mood and reflect personal feelings and associations. Above all, 4s want to distinguish themselves from others. They want to feel that their taste, their self-expression, their emotional depths are unique. Thus, they tend to emphasize all of the ways in which they are unlike other people, especially their own family. They deeply want to know who they are, and that who they are is special in some way. Being complimented or told that they are loved is nice, of course, but what 4s really want is for others to recognize and appreciate the patterns of qualities that is unique to them, that they are not generic. Because of their powerful need to see themselves as different from others, 4s often end up feeling alone and misunderstood. They become creative outsiders, and they're proud of it. If they were working in a regular 9-to-5 job, they will find ways to put their unique stamp on their work. This can run the gambit from finding their own way of presenting reports to having a recognizable design style to decorating their office in a way that reflects their taste and feelings. They may run their own company as long as there's a creative component to their work and it's emotionally satisfying. Or they may be in a profession that makes use of their personal touch, such as a clothing designer, a counselor, or a therapist of some kind. 4s are often professional artists, writers, or teachers. Above all, 4s want their life to be a work of art. They want to achieve something beautiful despite their loneliness, suffering, and self-doubt they have so often felt. Unfortunately, the 4s' need to be different can also lead to alienation and a tendency to become engrossed in feelings of loss, sadness, and melancholy. All 9 types can feel sad, lonely, and depressed, but 4s feel this way frequently, even when there is nothing in their current life to cause such feelings. They often become convinced that these painful feelings are more real and authentic when compared to more passing feelings of happiness or enthusiasm. Indeed, 4s begin to feel that they are being the most real, most honest people because they are focusing on disappointment and sadness. Ultimately, this can lead them to foster and prolong these painful feelings in themselves. In brief, 4s want to express themselves in their individuality, to create and surround themselves with beauty, to maintain certain moods and feelings, to withdraw and protect their vulnerabilities, to take care of emotional needs before attending to anyone else, and to attract a rescuer who will understand them. 4s do not want to restrain or lose touch with their emotions, to feel ordinary, to have their individuality unrecognized, to have their tastes questioned, or to be required at social settings, to follow impersonal rules and procedures, to spend time with people they perceive are lacking taste and emotional depth. To be honest, this sounds mostly like me. I don't know that I often choose to be sad. It's hard because I legitimately have reasons I feel like to be forever sad, which is probably exactly a thing a 4 would say. But I usually am not sad for no reason. Like I always know the reason, which is because I'm so in tune with my feelings. And like I do like being an individual, and I mean I think I would change that stuff if I felt that my individual self could change, but it's like I don't feel that I can. I kind of am just who I am because of how I was raised and the compilation of events and things that led up to my life. So I definitely felt like I have wanted to be ordinary and wanted to be normal, and I've just kind of come to accept that that is just not possible for me. This is 4's hidden side. On the surface, 4s can seem to suffer from chronic self-doubt and extreme sensitivity to others' reactions to them. But part of the reason for this is that 4s often hold a secret inner image of who they feel they could be. Ugh, I feel this so hard. They have an idea of the sort of person they would like to become. The kind of person who would be fantastically talented, socially adept, and intensely desired. In short, 4s come to believe that if they were somehow different from who they are, they would be seen and loved. Unfortunately, they constantly compare themselves negatively to this idealized secret self, their fantasy self. It makes it very difficult for 4s to appreciate many of their genuine positive qualities because they are never as wonderful as the fantasy. Much of the growth for type 4s involves letting go of this idealized secret self so that they can see and appreciate who they actually are. Relationship issues. As the romantics of the Enneagram, 4s focus a great deal of their time and attention on their relationships. High-functioning 4s are sensitive to others, especially to others' feelings, and enjoy any kind of authentic personal sharing. They are excellent listeners and give their attention when somebody they care about is trying to express herself. Unfortunately, 4s also tend to get caught up in their own emotional reactions and dramas. When this happens, they have difficulty seeing others or hearing them objectively. Their strong emotional reactions can make it difficult for them to sustain interpersonal connections. 4s tend to have the following issues in relationships. Oh geez, I don't even know what to expect. Becoming self-absorbed and uninterested in others' feelings or problems due to feeling overwhelmed by their own feelings. I could kind of see that one. I think I always end up valuing other people's feelings over my own, though. But sometimes I will fight for myself because I know that I have a tendency to do that, so maybe that's how that comes off. Idealizing potential partners, then feeling disappointed once they get to know them, often devaluing and rejecting them. I do think that I often do idealize a potential partner, and that sometimes like I can feel disappointed, and I think that maybe happens with a lot of people in relationships is like, oh, you're dating and you think that this person is one way, and then as you get to know them more, because as the years go by, you get to know people different, you realize something about them where it was like, oh, I had assumed this about you instead of actually getting to know this about you. So I've definitely had that, but often I learn how to just love them anyway, because I know that I am probably disappointing in some aspects that I'm always working on, but I don't ever try to devalue a person. Placing great expectations on their partner for nurturing and support, that I am absolutely guilty of. Being moody and temperamental, making others walk on eggshells. I think it's hard because it's like I know I can come across moody, but I know that others walk on eggshells, and I've been trying to work on people feeling like they don't have to do that, I guess, and also being less moody or being honest about like, hey, this mood is absolutely and completely tied to my period cycle, and I'm going to get through it. It's just I'm an organic human being feeling something. Withholding attention and affection to punish the other. Oof, I definitely don't do that. Imagining that others have worse opinions of them than they do. Being touchy and hypersensitive to slights. Yeah, that I am guilty of. Type compatibility. The passion. Envy. At some level, fours believe that they are missing something that other people seem to have. Oh, I feel this. They feel that something is wrong with them or with their relationships, and they start to be acutely aware of what is not working in their lives. Naturally, given this frame of mind, it is difficult for fours to feel good about themselves or to appreciate the good things in their lives. Fours rightly perceive that there is something inadequate or incomplete about the ego self, but they incorrectly assume that they alone suffer from this problem. Fours then get into the habit of comparing themselves to others, concluding that they have somehow gotten the short end of the stick. Fours feel that they have been singled out by fate for bad treatment, bad luck, unsatisfying relationships, bad parenting, and broken dreams. It comes as something of a shock to many fours to discover that other people have suffered as much or even more than they have. I don't really feel shocked. I think I've known that, so I don't super relate to that. But I know that sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm not alone, but I think a lot of people have to do that. This doesn't mean that fours haven't suffered or that their painful past are inconsequential, but fours need to see how they perpetuate their own suffering by continually focusing on old wounds rather than truly processing those hurts and letting go of them in a way that would allow them to heal. Yeah, I'm definitely at least focusing on that part of the journey, but I was stuck for a while. It's not like people really talk about this stuff, which is why I'm doing this video. At their best, healthy fours strive to be true to themselves. They are emotionally honest and they aren't afraid to reveal themselves to others, warts and all. They combine self-awareness and introspection with great emotional strength and endurance. They bring a heightened sensitivity to their experiences and are able to share with others the subtleties of their inner world. This invites others to do the same. They are highly intuitive and creative and add a personal human touch to whatever they are involved with. They treat others with gentleness, tact, and discretion. They can be wonderfully expressive with an ironic, witty view of life and themselves, often finding humor in their own foibles and contradictions. They bring a sense of beauty, refinement, and emotional richness into other people's lives. You're welcome. That's good. I try to do that to people. Thus, high-functioning fours are profoundly creative, expressing the personal and universal, possibly through art, but also in their daily lives. They are in touch with the ever-changing nature of reality and are inspired by it. High-functioning fours are able to renew and regenerate themselves again and again, transforming even their most painful experiences to something beautiful and meaningful that others can benefit from as well. They have a deep sense of allowing, and they are able to hold even the most painful feelings with compassion and sensitivity, whether their own or someone else's. Under stress, 4 goes to average 2. 4s attempt to defend their hurt feelings and gain attention by withdrawing from people and withholding their own affection and attention. They may recognize on some level, however, that their emotional storminess and withdrawals are driving away the people who are most supportive of them. Then 4s go out of their way to reestablish their connections and reassure themselves that the relationship is still on solid ground. But because they are reacting out of stress, 4s may overcompensate by trying to win others over by doing favors, or more darkly, by manipulation and creating dependencies, all in the manner of average to unhealthy 2s. To do this, they keep talking about the state of relationships with the other person and try to make themselves more needed. Favors, help, and reminding others of their support are part of the picture. Trouble 4s also become more possessive of loved ones, not wanting to let them out of their sight for too long, like lower functioning 2s. I wonder if then you're ranked on the 9th, so I'm like halfway to good, and if you're a 9, you're like a great person. That's kind of mean. I don't know if that's the way Enneagrams work. I know nothing about them besides just a lot of business people are like, oh, do this test. I don't really try to withhold stuff. I definitely think that like I will like cut if somebody is super damaging and I've tried everything that I could, and I mean, and even then it's like if they apologize, they could be welcomed back into my life with open arms, but you have to like genuinely admit that you did wrong, and I have to recognize that. And yeah, and I'm not necessarily, even after that apology, going to reestablish that relationship, but I will allow it to be at peace. I'm not really a manipulative person. I just don't have the brain to like think in a way to manipulate other people. I mean, there's times where I know like what sounds better. And so it's not that I don't know how to not manipulate at all, but I don't like it. It takes me definitely a lot to do that. And even those manipulative lies stand for the truth. It's just like presented better. I know how to put like a good foot forward with people and then make them feel like, yeah, you don't want to have beef with me because I'm actually a good person. So I guess that might be manipulative, but it also is just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm defending myself, but maybe that's what a manipulative person would say. Yeah, I definitely am not, I feel like, a withholding affection. I mean, when I'm mad, I'm not necessarily like loving still. Not that I'm like mean. I'm just like, I don't want to like maybe hug somebody when I'm really mad. Like that's just me. But yeah. And I don't know that I'm very possessive of loved ones. I do sometimes because I have been cheated on. I can get like possessive, but I still like, I don't mind people being out of my sight as long as I can trust them. But if I have some like feelings that I can't trust them, then I can definitely feel myself being more clingy. But usually if I love a person, I want to be around them all the time anyway. So it's not trying to be possessive. It's just that I enjoy the company. Security. 4 goes to an average 1. With trusted intimates or in situations in which 4s feel sure of themselves, they may risk being more openly controlling and critical of others. Their frustration with others and their feelings of disappointment in how others are behaving, especially towards them, finally erupts. 4s can become impatient and critical, demanding that people meet their exacting standards, constantly pointing out how others have made errors. Nothing about the other people, whom they may have idealized and regarded as their longed-for rescuer, now satisfies them or gives them as much hope or pleasure. Everything about this person and their situation becomes irritating and annoying, and they can't seem to get the other person's fault out of their mind. 4s in this state may also compensate for their ragged emotions by driving themselves excessively, feeling that they are lazy and unproductive if they are not constantly working or improving. I definitely think that I am that last bit, that I will feel lazy and unproductive if I'm not constantly working and improving. But so far it's working out. I'm sure I have burnout at some point. But yeah, I still don't feel like I try not to be overcritical of others. Like if I have something, I might come with a criticism, but my mind is pretty open to changing. Just because I perceive something, I know automatically that doesn't make it true. Like there's definitely times where it's like, I know I saw something because I checked it twice. Like I know there's like facts that you eyewitness, right? And you're like, I'm not going to be gaslit when they're not this way. But for the most part, I'm like, if I make an assumption about somebody, I'm willing to be like, oh, okay, like I was wrong and backtrack. Integration. 4 goes to a healthy 1. As 4s become more aware of their tendency to brood and to fantasize about their many hurts and disappointments, they also become aware of the cost to themselves of this way of being. As they relax and accept themselves more deeply, they gradually become free of their constant emotional turbulence and their need to maintain emotional crises or to indulge themselves as a consolation prize for not fulfilling their potential. Gradually and naturally, they become more objective, grounded, and practical, like healthy ones. They also become more realistic and able to operate in the real world. Without imposing harsh disciplines or expectations on themselves, integrating 4s want to become involved in matters beyond themselves, such as in community work, politics, the environment, or in other worthwhile ways to engage their minds and hearts. But on some level, they choose no longer to indulge themselves, but to live within the constraints of reality. When they do so, they find the payoffs and the pleasures and their creativity are deeper and much more fulfilling. I definitely think that's true. As I've accepted myself more, I've definitely seen life bloom more. I think some of it's hard because, I mean, for me personally, I've had a lot of hurts and disappointments, and also a lot of my art is influenced by that. And my art has been like kind of this like machine that can turn those hurts into something beautiful, worthwhile. So it's this weird thing where it's like I have to be aware of them, but I also can't brood on them and feel sad about them. But I definitely feel like I'm moving more and more away from them every year. Like, the lessons that I've learned during these terrible times, they're never going to not be with me. Like, I'm changed by what happened, but I'm also like I don't feel like my life is over because these things happened to me. I definitely have noticed that a lot of people feel differently than I do, that a lot of people are like how this 4 describes, which is maybe such a 4 thing to be like, oh, all these other people are like this 4, but me, I'm actually like a different kind of 4. Wow, that's hilarious. But yeah, the levels of development. Healthy levels. Level 1, at their best. Profoundly creative, expressing the personal and the universal, possibly in a work of art. Inspired, self-renewing, and regenerating, able to transform all their experiences into something valuable. Self-creative. Definitely there. Level 2. Self-aware, introspective, on the search for self, aware of feelings and inner impulses, sensitive and intuitive to both self and others, gentle, tactful, compassionate. I think I'm halfway to this. I think part of this is I'm pretty self-aware, I would say, and introspective. I don't know that I'm on the search for myself. People say that I've already found myself, and I feel like maybe I am on the search for myself because I feel like I'm still trying to figure out. I also feel like it's too late to figure out who I am. I just have to keep working anyway, which is so silly because if I could figure out who I am, I would I think be better at my work. Level 3, highly personal, individualistic, true to self, self-revealing, emotionally honest, humane, ironic view of self and life, can be serious and funny, vulnerable and emotionally strong. I definitely feel like I'm halfway at level 3. Average levels. Level 4, take an artistic and romantic orientation to life, creating a beautiful aesthetic environment to cultivate and prolong personal feelings. Heighten reality through fantasy, passionate feelings, and imagination. Level 5, to stay in touch with feelings, they interiorize everything, taking everything personally, but become self-absorbed, introverted, moody, hypersensitive, shy, and self-conscious, unable to be spontaneous or to get out of themselves, stay withdrawn to protect their self-image, and to buy time to sort out feelings. I definitely felt like I was at a level 5 at the end of my abusive relationships, for sure. I don't think I've created a beautiful aesthetic environment yet. I'm working on it. Level 6, gradually think that they are different from others and feel that they are exempt from living as everyone else does. They become melancholy dreamers, disdainful, decadent, and sensual, living in a fantasy world. Self-pity and envy of others leads to self-indulgence and to becoming increasingly impractical, unproductive, effete, and precious. On my bad days, I am a level 6. That is very true. Unhealthy levels. Level 7, when dreams fail, become self-inhibiting and angry at self, depressed and alienated from self and others, blocked and emotionally paralyzed, ashamed of self, fatigued and unable to function. Level 8, tormented by delusional self-contempt, self-reproaches, self-hatred, and morbid thoughts. Everything is a source of torment. Blaming others, they drive away anyone who tries to help them. Level 9, despairing, feel hopeless, and become self-destructive, possibly abusing alcohol and drugs to escape. In the extreme, emotional breakdown or suicide is likely. Generally corresponds to the avoidant, depressive, and narcissistic personality disorders. Yeah, I think when I was like a teenager and really emotionally abused and emotionally distraught, I was at that level 8, 9 for sure. Personal growth recommendations for type 4s. 4s grow by recognizing that while the hurts and losses of the past were real enough, there is no need to keep revisiting them in the imagination. On the contrary, doing so keeps drawing them out of richness and depth of the present moment. The one time and place in which their real feelings and their true identity can be found. 4s need to see how working up their feelings actually moves them further away from their most authentic self and their truest self-expression. Do not pay so much attention to your feelings. They are not the true source of support for you, as you probably already know. Remember this advice. From our present perspective, we can also see that one of the most important mistakes 4s make is to equate themselves with their feelings. The fallacy is that to understand themselves, they must understand that their feelings, particularly their negative ones, before acting. 4s do not see that the self is not the same as its feelings, or that the presence of negative feelings does not preclude the presence of good in themselves. Always remember that your feelings are telling you something about yourself as you are in this particular moment, not necessarily more than that. That was definitely a lesson I learned in my early 20s for sure. Avoid putting off things until you are in the right mood. Commit yourself to do productive, meaningful work that will contribute to your good and that of others, no matter how small the contribution may be. Working consistently in the real world will create a context in which you can actually discover yourself and your talents. Actually, you're happiest when you're working. That is, activating your potentials and realizing yourself. You will not find yourself in a vacuum or while waiting for inspiration to strike. So connect and stay connected with the real world. It's definitely a lesson I am learning this year, right now, this current moment. Self-esteem and self-confidence will develop only from having positive experiences, whether or not you believe that you are ready to have them. Oh, so true. They got me here. Therefore, put yourself in the way of good. You may never feel that you are ready to take on a challenge of some sort, and that you will always need more time. Fours typically never feel that they are sufficiently together, but they must nevertheless have the courage to stop putting off their lives. Even if you start small, commit yourself to doing something that will bring out the best in you. A wholesome self-discipline takes many forms, from sleeping regular hours to working regularly to exercising regularly, and has a cumulative strengthening effect. Since it comes from yourself, a healthy self-discipline is not contrary to your freedom or individuality. On the other hand, sensuality, excessive sexual experiences, alcohol, drugs, sleep, or fantasizing have a debilitating effect on you, as you already know. Therefore, practice healthy self-discipline and stay with it. That is definitely something I am struggling with. Avoid lengthy conversations in your imagination, particularly if they are negative, resentful, or even excessively romantic. These conversations are essentially unreal and at best only rehearsals for action. Although, as you know, you almost never say or do what you imagine you will. Instead of spending time imagining your life and relationships, begin to live them. Ugh, that's so real for me. Okay, so here are some examples of people. I'm definitely going to butcher some names, please. Be nice to me. I have Invisalign in still. So Rumi, who is a poet that I usually like his stuff or her stuff. I can't remember their gender. I'm sorry. I misgender them. Friedrich Chopin, the piano guy. Chopin? I think it's Chopin. Chopin, yeah. I don't remember if I like his piano stuff. I feel like I do. I also have Piotr Tchaikovsky, who also does piano stuff. Gustav Mahler, who I've heard of, but I don't know. Jackie Kennedy Onassis. I've always felt this weird connection to Jackie Kennedy, which is pretty crazy. Edgar Allan Poe, which I definitely liked. Yukio Mishima, who I think I've had. I think if it's the artist, I'm definitely feeling her, but I don't think that's true. If it's the author, I've definitely liked her stuff as well. Virginia Woolf, who I've actually played before and liked. Anne Frank, who I related to so hard in her diary, weirdly, because I definitely have not had to hide because of my race and religion. Karen Blixen, Isaac Dynson, Annis New, which I like, Tennessee Williams, who I love, J.D. Salinger, who I love, Anne Rice, who I love, Frida Kahlo, who, oh my god, is my favorite artist, Diane Arbus, I don't know, Martha Graham, Rudolph Nureyev, I don't know, Cindy Sherman, I don't know, Hank Williams, I love, Billie Holiday, I love, Judy Garland, I love, Maria Callas, I don't know, Miles David, I love, Keith Jarrett, I don't know, Joni Mitchell, my most listened to artist of 2021. I definitely relate to her. Bob Dylan, I like, Paul Simon, I like, Leonard Cohen, Yusuf Islam, Cat Stevens, who I love, Farron, I don't know, I love Cher, Stevie Nicks, Annie Lennox, who I like, Prince, Sarah McLachlan, Alanis Morissette, Feast, Florence and the Machine, this is basically my playlist now, Amy Winehouse, Ingrid Bergman, Lars von Trier, Marlo Brando, Jeremy Irons, who I don't know, Angelina Jolie, Winona Ryder, Kate Winslet, some of the most fabulous actresses of our time. Oh, that's so nice to be a four with them. Nicolas Cage, LOL. Johnny Depp, tattoo artist Kat Von D, magician Chris Angel, and Streetcar Named Desire is Blanche Dubois, who I have also played and loved. She's such an easy part for me because we're the same. And that's me on being a four. We're also going to go into the six. Oh man, I'm already at 30 minutes. Kind of glad that my notes then did disappear because this would have been a long one. The next type I got was 6, the loyalist, the committed, security-oriented type. Engaging, responsible, anxious, and suspicious. Generally, 6s are reliable, hardworking, organizing, vigilant, dutiful, evaluating, persevering, cautious, anxious, believing and doubting, conservative, and liberal. Yeah, that sounds like me. 6s get into conflicts by being pessimistic, defensive, evasive, negative, worrying, doubtful, negativistic, reactive, suspicious, and blaming. At their best, sixes are courageous, cooperative, disciplined, grounded, secure, faithful, self-expressive, funny, and affectionate. Recognizing sixes. Type 6 exemplifies the desire to create a stable, safe environment, to cooperate and create with others, and to be adequately prepared for the various difficulties that life presents. Sixes are meticulous, disciplined, and persevering. They are good with details, and they have a talent for seeing potential problems and dealing with them before problems get out of hand. They organize resources, prioritize tasks, and see projects through. Sixes are not necessarily group people, but they like the feeling of belonging somewhere, of being part of something greater than themselves. They enjoy being of service and really want to contribute to the world. They bring reliability, responsibility, hard work, and a sense of honor to all of their affairs. They approach others as if to say, I am here for you. You can count on me. Yeah, this sounds a lot like me. Honestly, maybe a little more like me than a 4. We'll see. Sixes do their best to be solid and responsible, but they are often troubled by an undercurrent of doubt and anxiety. In fact, sixes often seem a bit jittery and uneasy in general. They live in a state of worry and then find something to worry about. They often scan their surroundings for problems, expecting that something negative could happen at any time. Consequently, they are usually careful about the management of their affairs and generally cautious in their dealing with others. At the same time, they are always on the lookout for someone they can trust, someone they can rely on, because it takes them a while to feel confident that someone is truly on their side. Sixes will sometimes test people by provoking them in some way to see how they will react. Once they've decided that someone has passed the test, there is almost no limit to their loyalty or to the sacrifices that sixes will make for the sake of the trusted person. I don't really think that I test people personally, but I do scan my environments and do sometimes believe that something negative can happen at any time, and I am always on the lookout for someone I can trust. Sixes know that once they make a commitment, they do so 110%. They find it difficult to leave a relationship once they have begun to trust someone and to rely on them. Thus, they want to be sure that they are putting their energies into someone who will be there for them consistently. Once they have established a solid relationship, they show their trust and affection by supporting the other person in every way that they can, especially by being reliable and trustworthy themselves. One sign that sixes have issues with trust is that they approach others with a sincere but cautious friendliness. When sixes are relaxed, they have a natural talent for engaging people and for finding common interests. They often get others to like them by joking around and bantering, and through other forms of physical and social bonding. They want to find things about people that are familiar and that they can relate to, looking for common interests and experiences that would be the basis of trust. They tend to get nervous in situations in which they do not know where others stand, where there are too many unknowns, too many unfamiliar elements. Fundamentally, sixes are looking for someone to trust because they do not really trust themselves. They do not have much faith in themselves and their own abilities, so they look outside themselves to a person, a job, an authority figure, or a belief system of some sort for guidance and security. This does not solve their insecurity in the long run. However, because the more sixes rely on others for their confidence, the more self-doubting and insecure they become. They will keep bouncing back and forth between depending on others and trying to prove that they are tough and independent themselves. Yeah, definitely been in that struggle. Some sixes tend to collapse into their anxiety more often, feeling fearful, anxious, dependent, and openly seeking support from others. These are called phobic sixes. Other sixes are more apt to impulsively leap into activities connected to their fears, such as a person with a fear of heights who decides to take up rock climbing, or a person who fears authority figures becoming a spokesperson for an anti-establishment group. These are called counterphobic sixes. In truth, all sixes have both phobic and counterphobic aspects, and they express their different responses in different areas of their life. A six might be phobic around her boss, for instance, but behave counterphobically with her spouse. I think this is pretty true. I think I'm more of a counterphobic person where I try to leap into my fears, but it does take a lot of convincing for myself. In brief, sixes want to have security, to feel supported by others, to have certitude and reassurance, to test the attitudes of others towards them, to fight against anxiety and insecurity, and to have everything be predictable as a way of defending the self from threats from the environment. Sixes do not want to feel abandoned, to have uncertainty, to have contradictory expectations placed on them, to feel pressured, to have to accept new ideas rapidly, to work with people who they feel are not carrying their weight, to have their security systems and beliefs questioned, especially by anyone they see as an outsider. their hidden side. Sixes seem like highly organized and responsible people and can often resemble ones. But the hidden problem is that sixes are trying to calm their inner anxieties by trying to make their external world trouble-free and predictable. Of course, this is ultimately an impossible task, but sixes still usually persevere in effort to make their world safe from danger and mishaps. Whew, I'm feeling really called out, guys. The real source of anxiety in sixes is internal and is often perpetuated by their constantly turning thoughts. In short, sixes cannot stop second-guessing themselves, doubting what they know, and consulting what amounts to an inner committee of contrary voices. Did I get the electric bill out this morning? Yes, I think so. Good. But what did I forget? Oh, yes, I was supposed to call Maggie about lunch tomorrow. She's going to be so angry with me. Should I call her now, or is it too late? With their minds revved up in a hyper-vigilant state, it is almost impossible for sixes to relax so that they can perceive clearly how to attend the actual challenges they need to address at any given time. What sixes really need is more inner quiet. They need to cultivate a sense of peace and inner quiet that will allow them to see and deal with reality more clearly. Relationship issues. Sixes can be confusing to others and themselves in relationships because they seem so changeable and unpredictable. In one moment, they feel nervous and want to be reassured by their partner that their partner is really on board with them. They want to know that the other person is close and available. In the next moment, they can easily feel smothered or overwhelmed by their partner and want to create some distance in the relationship. Moments later, they are looking for reassurance that they've not gone too far and being independent. In short, sixes are seeking what psychologists call optimal distance. They want to keep their loved ones close enough so that they will not feel abandoned, but not close so they feel engulfed by the other person. Relationship issues for six include the following: testing the other person to see if he or she is going to stay, getting overcommitted, causing sixes to feel pressured and taken advantage of, either clamming up and not expressing their feelings or venting a stream of anxieties, alternating between feeling dependent and needy at one extreme and feeling defiant and rebellious at the other, running hot or cold, easily becoming suspicious, reflexively doubting the goodwill of others towards them, blaming people for sixes' own anxieties, and projecting negative motivations onto others. I don't really feel that I test people. I also am kind of okay with becoming engulfed with a person. In fact, that I've had to train myself to be less okay with that so that I don't lose myself, because I think that can become very, very dangerous. I definitely can get overcommitted, and I definitely will, sometimes I realize I could have exercised my right to say no, and I didn't, to keep another person around. I definitely sometimes have a hard time expressing my feelings, and then I will have a vent of anxiety, so that's very much like me. I don't necessarily feel like I'm hot and cold, especially, not in an unexplainable way. I can easily become suspicious, but I don't try to blame other people for my own anxieties, but I am very hypervigilant. It's the trauma. Type compatibility. The passion, angst, traditionally fear. The passion of the six is often described as fear, but fear is an organic response to real danger in our environment. All types experience fear. Angst, on the other hand, is the emotional experience of existential fear or unspecified anxiety that comes from the absence of a sense of support and guidance. It is the sense of dread and despair that results in low or high-level chronic anxiety and a capacity to continually conjure worst-case scenarios in the imagination. Thus, sixes are habitually on the lookout for potential disasters, with the result that their minds are constantly agitated. Ultimately, this can leave them less prepared to deal with real problems because they are making themselves fearful, imagining what could go wrong. The more angst, the more anxious sixes become. Their minds become worked up, and the less they are able to access the quiet inner knowing that would give them clarity about what to do. Oh yes, I wish I could hear my quiet inner knowing. The passion of type 6 can also be experienced as doubt. Traditionally, this was sometimes called faithlessness. Sixes seldom trust their own minds, their own capacity to know when they are in the grip of doubt. They second-guess themselves, rechecking math they are sure they did correctly. Oh, I took so much time on math test, you guys. Going back to the house to make sure they lock the door and that they are actually remember locking, and so forth. I'm not as bad as that, but my boyfriend, I wonder if he's a 6. As we have seen, sixes are anxious to have reliable sources of support and guidance in their lives, be they books, friends, advisors, philosophies, jobs, or anything else. But once the doubt sets in, sixes fear that these very support systems will not be there for them. They question even their most ardent supporters as their doubt gives way to growing suspicion or even paranoia. At their best, healthy sixes are able to elicit strong emotional responses from others. They are engaging, friendly, playful, truly likable, dependable people. They bring a sense of trust and camaraderie to their relationships and treat everyone, including themselves, as an equal. They are strongly committed and loyal to people in their lives, and they work hard to build stability, security, and prosperity in their homes, jobs, and communities. Healthy sixes are the foundation of any society. They believe in cooperation and shared goals, helping to organize people and tackle problems. They bring a democratic approach to their dealings with others and will fight for the powerlessness and disenfranchised as they would for themselves. High-functioning sixes become self-confident and self-affirming. They trust themselves and have learned self-reliance and independence because they know they are deeply grounded in the limitless support of being. Faith in this inner support and a sense of guidance leads to a positive, life-affirming attitude, often manifesting itself as outstanding courage and leadership. High-functioning sixes combine a commitment being guided by their own inner knowing with a commitment to allowing themselves to be led wherever the truth takes them. As a result, they become powerful influences for the greater good. Oh, I hope I can. Personality dynamics and variations. Under stress, 6 goes to average 3. Sixes are often visibly nervous, reacting with self-doubt to situations and getting caught in overthinking a problem. Yeah. When stress escalates beyond the normal level, however, they jump into action and stay in action, trying to deal with their anxieties by working harder. If, for example, they feel pressured at work, sixes may spend their weekend frantically doing yard chores or obsessively reorganizing their closets as a way of discharging or avoiding feelings of inadequacy. They also fear letting others know how overwhelmed they are, so they take on a false persona of competency and efficiency, like average 3s. Don't worry about anything. I've got this handled. Oh my god, this is me. They focus increasingly on tasks and on being efficient while cutting off from their feelings so that they can stay functional. But this can lead to major emotional problems for them and for their relationships. Security. 6 goes to an average 9. In situations where sixes feel secure, they begin to deal with stress by simply shutting down and becoming indifferent to their surroundings, like average 9s. They do not want to be disturbed or bothered by loved ones. They feel they've been working hard and they experience virtually any kind of interaction as another source of pressure. They will be pleasant one moment, but can suddenly become stubbornly resistant and shut down in the next if they feel that others are demanding something of them. At such times, sixes become unavailable and passive-aggressive, not wanting to respond to others or move out of the comforting but numbing routines. I barely have a routine, so I don't super relate to this one. Integration. 6 goes to a healthy 9. As sixes learn to trust themselves more, they also become more open to life and to other people. They gradually learn to relax their hypervigilance and simply be with themselves or with whatever life is presenting them in the moment. They gain a deeper acceptance of life's ups and downs, such that they are not ridiculed with dread and anxiety. They are inclusive and supportive of others, and much more at peace. Integrating sixes are able to let their minds rest in their natural, pristine state of clarity and inner quiet. They are able to stop second-guessing everything and let their own inner wisdom arise. The result is that they are more serene, grounded, and joyous, light and stable. Whew, I want to get to there. I want to go to there. The levels of development. Healthy levels. Level 1, at their best. Becoming self-affirming, trusting of self and others, independent yet symbolically interdependent and cooperative as an equal. Belief in self leads to true courage, positive thinking, leadership, and rich self-expression. Level 2, able to elicit strong emotional responses from others. Very appealing, endearing, lovable, affectionate. Trust important, bonding with others, forming permanent relationships and alliances. Level 3, dedicated to individuals and movements in which they deeply believe. Community builders, responsible, reliable, trustworthy, hardworking and persevering, sacrificing for others. They create stability and security in their world, bringing a cooperative spirit. Ugh, I'm heading for this healthy levels, but I think I might be in the average. Oh no. Average levels. Level 4, start investing their time and energy into whatever they believe will be safe and stable. Organizing and structuring, they look to alliances and authorities for security and continuity. Constantly vigilant, anticipating problems. I'm probably here. which is not that far away, optimistically. Level 5. To resist having more demands made on them, they react against others passive-aggressively, becoming evasive, indecisive, cautious, procrastinating, and ambivalent, are highly reactive, anxious, and negative, giving contradictory mixed signals. Internal confusion makes them react unpredictably. Level 6. To compensate for their insecurities, they become sarcastic and belligerent, blaming others for their problems, taking a tough stance towards outsiders, highly reactive and defensive, dividing people into friends and enemies while looking for threats to their own security. Authoritarian while fearful of authority, highly suspicious yet conspiratorial, and fear-instilling to silence their own fears. Unhealthy levels. Fearing that they have ruined their security, they become panicky, volatile, and self-disparaging with acute inferiority feelings. Setting themselves as defensiveless, they seek out a stronger authority or belief to resolve all problems. Highly divisive, disparaging, and berating others. Level 8. Feeling persecuted that others are out to get them, they lash out and act irrationally, bringing about what they fear. Fanaticism, violence. Level 9. Hysterical and seeking to escape punishment, they become self-destructive and suicidal. Alcoholism, drug overdoses, skid row, self-abashing behavior generally corresponds to the passive-aggressive and paranoid personality disorders. Oh, great. Mental illness. Amazing. Yeah, I will say, while I feel more about sixes in the personality description, I feel like in the levels, I was more of a 4. Very interesting, especially in my flaw levels. I have not in the unhealthy levels of 6 really been there. I try not to disparage others. You have to really wear me down to get to that sort of thing. I do not easily start there, but the 4 struggle I definitely felt more of. Personal growth recommendations for type 6s. 6s grow by recognizing that the only real security in life comes from within. While we can work hard to build our finances, to find the right friends and the right partner, and to foresee every possible mishap, ultimately, none of the external structures that we use to give ourselves confidence will always work for us. Things can and do go wrong, and the support that we rely on inevitably. Therefore, growth for a 6 Can I pet him? Hello! High five! Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
Hi! Okay, how are you? Looks like Marcy. Yeah, it is a cat. You look like a cat too. And you kind of look like my cat. Alcohol or other drugs to ally them. In fact, if you are present and breathing fully, anxiety can be energizing, a kind of tonic that can help make you more productive and aware of what you are doing. This is very true. This is something that I have honestly recently learned is if I'm anxious about not doing enough, then it's well, then let's just do something, right? It was if I obviously I'm being idle and having thoughts, so I need to just change what I'm doing because that is allowing the things to do. So it definitely has made me more productive. You tend to get edgy and testy when you are upset or angry, and can even turn on others and blame them for things you have done or brought upon yourself. Be aware of your pessimism. It causes you dark moods and negative thought patterns, and you tend to project on reality. When you succumb to the self-doubt, you can become your own worst enemy and may harm yourself more than anyone else does. I don't feel like I blame other people for what I'm responsible for. I always feel honestly, it's been the opposite. Sometimes I have taken other people's blame on my own shoulders. But I do know that my dark moods hurt me more than anybody else. And they often can hurt others too, because as a valuable member of a community like 6s are, I am relied upon. 6s tend to overreact when they are under stress and feeling anxious. Oops, it's me. Learn to identify what makes you overreact. Also realize that almost none of these things you feared so much have actually come true. Well, we could debate that. Even if things are as bad as you think, your fearful thoughts weaken you and your ability to change things for the better. That is true. You cannot always manage external events, but you can manage your own thoughts. Work on becoming more trusting. There are doubtless several people in your life you can turn to who care about you and who are trustworthy. If not, go out of your way to find someone trustworthy and allow yourself to get close to that person. They caught me. I have trust issues. This will mean risking rejection and stirring up some of your deepest fears, but the risk is worth taking. You have a gift for getting people to like you, but you are unsure of yourself and may be afraid of making a commitment to them. Therefore, come down clearly on one side or the other of the fence in your relationships. Let people know how you feel about them. Others probably think better of you than you realize, and few people are really out to get you. In fact, your fears tell you more about your attitudes towards others than they indicate about others' attitudes towards you, which is probably very true. Some good advice. Here are some more examples of people whose name I'm going to pronounce wrong. Krishnamurti, I don't know. Johannes Brahms, I don't know. Mark Twain, I know, and I'm not a huge fan. Sigmund Freud, oh geez. J. Edgar Hoover. Richard Nixon, oh man, Robert F. Kennedy, Malcolm X, George H.W. Bush, Diana, Princess of Wales, Prince Harry, J.R.R. Tolkien, all right, that's fair, John Grismay, Mike Tyson, Bruce Springsteen, U2's Bono, Melissa Etheridge, Eminem, Oliver Stone, who I don't know, Michael Moore, Spike Lee, Marilyn Monroe, all right, Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, Mark Wahlberg, man, a lot of people who struggle with drugs too. Woody Allen, Diane Keaton, Mel Gibson, Sally Field, Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Julia Roberts, Jennifer Aniston, Elliot Page, Paul Rudd, Sarah Jessica Parker, Ben Affleck, Hugh Laurie, Katie Holmes, David Letterman, Jay Leno, Ellen DeGeneres, Andy Rooney, Katie Couric, Newt Gingrich, Alex Jones, Infowars, oh geez, Rush Limbaugh, Chris Rock, Louis Black, Larry David, Seinfeld's George Constanza, Lord of the Rings, Frodo Baggins. I definitely liked my examples of 4 more, but the good news is there's still a bunch of actors. All right, my last personality type, I believe, which is a 5. It's very silly because it's like I was 4, 6, 5 in the order, I guess, of what I was close to. Personality type 5, the investigator. Intense cerebral type. Perceptive, innovative, secretive, and isolated. Generally, 5s are focused, observant, curious, insightful, expert, studious, complex, perceptive, whimsical, profound, unsentimental, exploratory, and independent. 5s get into conflicts by being detached, preoccupied, high-strung, isolated, impractical, unconventional, uncompromising, extreme, and provocative. At their best, 5s are visionary, pioneering, innovative, objective, understanding, playful, compassionate, and non-attached. I don't know, this doesn't super sound like me, but we'll see. Recognizing 5s. Type 5s exemplify the human desire to understand, to look beneath the surface of things, and to arrive at deeper insights about reality. Maybe I spoke too soon. 5s prefer the life of the mind, both as a way of understanding the world and, given the unlimited power of imagination, as a way of escaping from aspects of reality. It would not be far-fetched to say that for many 5s, the inner world of the mind and imagination is more real and vivid than the external world. 5s tend to have an experience and spend many hours, days even, years, understanding it and its broader context. 5s are also highly innovative and inventive. They love tinkering around, playing with concepts, and overturning the accepted ways of doing things. Yeah. This can produce extremely valuable, practical, and original works and discoveries, or simply entertain them for many hours with no practical results. I'm probably on the latter side of that sentence. 5s are truly the most independent and idiosyncratic of the personality types. The people who could most appropriately be called loners and misfits. They are people who truly march to a different drummer, pursuing their interest and curiosity wherever their investigations may take them. Sometimes 5s can seem downright odd to people, while others keep their weirdness more below the surface. In either case, 5s are intensely determined to pursue the questions and ideas that fascinate them, so much so that the relationships and financial considerations can become unimportant to them. Oh man, this has been an hour-long call-out post for me at this point. These qualities result from an extraordinary ability to focus their attention. 5s will stay with a problem or a question that fascinates them until it is solved, or until they discover that it is unsolvable. Me with abusive relationships. Sociopaths. I still think they can be solved. I just decided that I was not the one to do it. Boredom is unimaginable to them, because there are so many fascinating things to explore, understand, and imagine. Oh my god, I've been saying this for years. This is so crazy. The downside is that their capacity for concentration enables them to get deeply engrossed in their complex inner worlds, sometimes to the extent they forget their surroundings, or even to take care of themselves. Yeah, oops. Thus, 5s can get involved in work, reading, or in their own thoughts in such a depth that they are often late for meetings and don't hear phone calls. It's Not necessarily true. I avoid phone calls, but I hear them, and I'm never late to a meeting. They forget to eat or to take adequate care of themselves physically. That much is true. They will live on soda or candy bars. I used to, but I don't. Or stay up all night writing a story or try to solve an interesting problem. This has happened to me. Not consistently, but it has occurred. They will pore over the computer terminal for hours or disappear into stacks of the local library, only to emerge 5 minutes before closing with an armload of books as they head to the nearest coffee shop to continue reading. This is very much me. Also maybe my uncle. But this doesn't mean that fives always want to be alone or that they can't be excellent company when they are with others. When fives find someone whose intelligence and interests they respect, they are invariably talkative and sociable. Fives love to share their insights and expertise with just about anybody who appreciates what they have to say. They also enjoy sharing their findings with others, and their observations of life's contradictions and absurdities are often served up with a whimsical sense of humor. This is so me. Fives can be the most enriching of friends since they have a treasure trove of information, speculation, opinions, and intensely felt ideas. But they can also be the most impenetrable of enigmas, a mind bristling with energy and intelligence that signals, "Stay away, leave me alone to follow my thoughts wherever they may lead." Fives are the kind of people others usually find strange, quirky, and intriguing, and they always have more going on than meets the eye. Oh man, this is very, very me. Remember when I was like, oh, I don't think this is me. In brief, fives want to understand reality, to possess knowledge, to find a niche for themselves that others have not explored, to be free to explore their own inner worlds, to have sufficient solitude and time for their projects, to feel confident and capable, and to unsettle with the unquestioned certainties of others. Fives do not want to feel uninformed or incapable, to have their competency questioned, to accept easy answers, to be intruded on or managed, to be forced to respond before they feel ready, to suffer ignorance of others, or to ask for help. They're hid inside. Day for day, socially inept fives probably spend more time by themselves than any other type. Nonetheless, fives needs companionship and connection, as so all human beings. The problem is that fives fear needing the affection and warmth of others. It is as if they feel that to ask for anything from others is to risk a greater imposition on their own freedom and independence. They also believe that their own needs are so intense that if they are ever to express or even acknowledged, they would be too much for others. Ugh. Ooh, that was real. That hit me. Whew. In some cases, they may even believe that their needs would actually harm others. Deep down, all fives really want to find someone safe to connect with. But they fear that doing so will cost them whatever degree of competency and self-reliance they have attained. If troubled, fives feel that their area of mastery or their independence is at risk, and they may retreat from a relationship even if they truly love the person that they are leaving. I've yet to super do that. I mean, I've retreated from relationships with people that I loved, but it was also because I saw problems down the line that, broke it up. Of all the types, fives seem to be the most able to live without significant relationships. But that doesn't mean they do not want one. Only that they are generally unwilling to compromise their focused approach to life too much for the sake of a relationship. When they find someone who understands their world, who appreciates their interest, and whom they respect, fives are loyal, passionate friends, partners, and lovers. They can make fascinating companions who are constantly introducing new ideas to their friends and partners. They can be funny, affectionate, and highly sexual, but they do not come to relationships easily. They remain in an uneasy balance between the desire for solitude and the desire for meaningful connection. Oof, I definitely feel that. Fives' relationship issues include the following: frequently feeling intruded on, and therefore a great deal of privacy and alone time. Often feeling rejected and retreating from people. Yeah, oops, guilty. Being overwhelmed by others' emotional needs. Also guilty. Not expressing their feelings or giving few verbal or nonverbal cues, thus seeming overly secretive to others. Antagonizing or undermining the calm or beliefs of others. Cutting off contact with people, withdrawing into deep isolation, feeling that they are poisonous or bad for people. Oof, I did this at a time. The passion. Avarice, or hoarding, oh no. Beneath the surface image of intellectual competency that fives present to the world, this type feels small and helpless. They feel as if there is not enough of themselves to go around and that other people's needs could easily deplete them. Oh Lord, it's me. Thus, fives seek to minimize their interactions with others and with the environment and to hold on to whatever basic resources they think they will need to go it alone. Avarice is not the grasping of gluttonous sevens, rather it is the lack of the ability to be open and generous with oneself because of fears of not being enough. Whew, they got me. Another way avarice is expressed in fives is the desire to memorize experiences and knowledge. Fives attempt to hold every potentially significant piece of information they have encountered in their heads, believing that eventually they will know enough to feel confident and able to handle any possible situation. Healthy fives observe everything with extraordinary perceptiveness and insight. Possessing a searching intelligence, they are highly mentally alert and curious. Little escapes their notice. Healthy fives are able to concentrate deeply and often notice things that other people would likely overlook or take for granted. They explore reality with a child's sense of wonder and enjoy finding new ways of perceiving and doing things. They like to ask questions, and with healthy fives, they are often the right questions. They enjoy learning and are excited by knowledge, which frequently leads them to becoming an expert in some field. Because of their focus and attentiveness, healthy fives attain mastery in whatever interests them. At their best, very high-functioning fives become visionaries and discoverers, broadly comprehending the world while penetrating it profoundly. They are remarkably open-minded, understanding things precisely, and as a whole. They begin to feel a deep connection with their fellow human beings and with the universe, and they often dedicate themselves to using their skill and knowledge to relieve human suffering and ignorance. They may contribute pioneering discoveries of something entirely new for the enrichment of humanity. At their best, fives combine the wisdom and perceptiveness of their minds with heart and courage in ways that truly bring something new and valuable into the world. Aw, that me. Under stress, five goes to an average 7. Fives usually cope with difficulties by retreating into their minds where they feel more confident and in control. But fives cannot retreat indefinitely, and eventually they need stimulation and interaction. Fives also tend to be nervous and high-strung, so when there is no outlet for their nervous energy, it builds up, eventually expressing itself in restlessness and hyperactivity. Fives can become literally restless and often develop insomnia. Anxiety causes their minds to overheat and to jump from one thought to the next. Much of their characteristic focus gets scattered. After being alone and concentrating for so long, they begin to overcompensate by overdoing their activities and lurching from one promising idea or experience to another. They become like a starving person at a banquet, and their scattered, hyperactive behavior can look like that of an average 7. At such times, usually quiet fives may become very talkative, impulsive, and flighty. Their underlying anxiety gets acted out in compulsive, even manic behaviors in ways that resemble lower functioning 7s. Oof. Security. 5 goes to average 8. Most often, if fives feel that others are intruding on them or imposing their wills, they will simply leave quietly if they can or shut down into a detached, disdainful silence. With people or situations in which they have more confidence, however, fives may suddenly risk behaving like average 8s, forcefully asserting their boundaries and confronting anyone or anything that displeases them. They become feisty, argumentative, and relentlessly provocative. In this mode, they take a tough stance, putting everyone on notice that they cannot be trifled with, but in ways that often cause people to react against them. They may become domineering, even aggressive, while questioning others' competency. Integration. 5 goes to healthy 8. As fives begin to understand the emotional cost of their self-imposed isolation, they begin to risk deeper, more complete contact with themselves and with the world. They become more grounded, more in touch with their bodies and their life energy, giving them more confidence and solidity. As this process deepens, integrating fives naturally begin to express many qualities of the healthy 8. They demonstrate leadership, courage, practical wisdom, and the willingness to take responsibility. They move from feeling small and powerless to feeling grounded and capable. Their knowledge and insight are then in service to objective needs in their world, and they are sought by others as sources of wisdom, compassion, and quiet strength. The levels of development. Healthy levels. Level 1, at their best. Become visionaries, broadly comprehending the world while penetrating it profoundly. Open-minded, take things in whole in their true context. Make pioneering discoveries and find entirely new ways of doing and perceiving things. Observe everything with an extraordinary perceptiveness and insight. Most mentally alert, curious, searching intelligence, nothing escapes their notice. foresight and prediction, able to concentrate, become engrossed in what has caught their attention. Level 3, attained a skillful mastery of whatever interests them, excited by the knowledge, often become an expert in some field, innovative and inventive, producing extremely valuable original works, highly independent, idiosyncratic, and whimsical. I don't know if I'm nearly here. I feel like I'm partly here. These comes and goes, my best. Maybe that's just normal, though. Level 4, begin conceptualizing and fine-tuning everything before acting, working out things in their mind, model building, preparing, practicing, and gathering more resources. Studious, acquiring technique, become specialized and often intellectual, often challenging accepted ways of doing things. Level 5, increasingly detached as they become involved with complicated ideas or imaginary worlds. Become preoccupied with their visions and interpretations rather than reality. Are fascinated by offbeat, esoteric subjects, even those involving dark and disturbing elements. Detached from the practical world, a disembodied mind, although high-strung and intense. Used to definitely be there. Level 6, begin to take an agnostic stance towards anything which would interfere with their inner world and personal vision. Become provocative and abrasive, with intellectually extreme and radical views, cynical and argumentative. Unhealthy levels. Level 7, become reclusive and isolated from reality, eccentric and nihilistic, highly unstable and fearful of aggressions. They reject and repulse others and all social attachments. Level 8, getting obsessed yet frightened by their threatening ideas, becoming horrified, delirious, and prey to gross distortions and phobias. Level 9, seeking obliviation. They may commit suicide or have a psychotic break with reality. Deranged, explosively self-destructive, with schizophrenic overtones. Generally corresponds to the schizoid avoidant and schizotypical personality disorders. Oh, that's not great. I love that every single one of my worst levels, though, ends with suicide. I wonder if that's all of them, but yeah, oof. Recommendations for type 5s. 5s grow by recognizing the real confidence lies not simply in intellectual mastery, but in putting themselves out into the world. 5s usually derive their confidence through the development of their minds, but they really need to bring balance to their psyches by developing a deeper relationship with their bodies and feelings. Growth for a 5 requires allowing themselves to see how estranged they are from their actual living selves and acknowledging all the deep needs that they have denied since early childhood. 5s actually feel things deeply, but they are extremely restrained in their ability to express their feelings. Developing trust of others, sharing what they're experiencing, and identifying with their feelings are all crucial for them to blossom fully as human beings. All of this becomes much easier when 5s are grounded in their bodies. Learn to notice when you're thinking and speculating takes you out of the immediacy of your experience. Your mental capacities can be an extraordinary gift, but can also be a trap when you use them to retreat from contact with yourself and others. Stay connected with your physicality. You tend to be extremely intense and so high-strung that you find it difficult to relax and unwind. Make an effort to learn to calm down in a healthy way without drugs or alcohol. Exercising or using biofeedback techniques will help channel some of your tremendous nervous energy. Meditation, jogging, yoga, and dancing are especially helpful for your type. You see many possibilities, but often do not know how to choose among them, or judge which is more or less important. When you're caught in your fixation, a sense of perspective can be missing, and with it, the ability to make accurate assessments. At such time, it can be helpful to get the advice of someone whose judgment you trust while you are gaining perspective on your situation. Doing this can also help you trust someone else, a difficulty for your type. Notice when you are getting intensely involved in projects that do not necessarily support your self-esteem, confidence, or life situation. It is possible to follow many different fascinating subjects, games, pastimes, but they can become a huge distraction from what you know you really need to do. Decisive action will bring more confidence than learning more facts or acquiring more unrelated skills. 5s tend to find it difficult to trust people, to open themselves up emotionally, or to make themselves accessible in various ways. Their awareness of potential problems in relationships may tend to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is important to remember that having conflicts with others is not unusual, and that the healthy thing is to work them out rather than reject attachments with people by withdrawing into isolation. Having 1 or 2 intimate friends with whom you trust enough to have conflicts with will enrich your life greatly. Oh yeah. I'm feeling like out of these all, like 6 and 4 definitely had a lot, but I am identifying like all around the board with being a 5, like especially, yeah, I think that if somebody asked me what my type is, I would say a 5. Here are the people that are 5s. Honestly, pretty accurate. Going to mispronounce names again, so forgive me. Examples: Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, Albert Einstein, Oliver Sacks, John Nash, A Beautiful Mind, Stephen Hawking, Vincent van Gogh, Edward Munch, Georgia O'Keeffe, Salvador Dali, Alberto Giacometti, Emily Dickinson, who I always identified with her, so I think I'm definitely more of a 5. Friedrich Nietzsche, Agatha Christie, James Joyce, John Paul Sartre, Susan Sontag, Stephen King, Ursula K. Le Guin, Clive Barker, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, my mortal enemy. I can't believe he's a 5. Jane Goodall, A.H. Almaz, Eckhart Tolle, Meredith Monk, Glenn Gould, John Cage, Kurt Cobain, David Bryan, Peter Gabriel, Laurie Anderson, Jane Siberry, Trent Reznor, Tom York, Radiohead, Alfred Hitchcock, Marlene Dietrich, Stanley Kubrick, David Cronenberg, Werner Herzog, Tim Burton, David Lynch, David Fincher, Jodie Foster, The Far Side, Gary Larson, Annie Leibovitz, Bobby Fischer, WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, Aaron Swartz, X-Files, Fox Mulder, Dr. Gregory House. Oof. Lots of characters in that one. Not so many actors and more people on the production side, which is very interesting because that's kind of where my life has been leaning. Well, hey, thanks so much for listening to this hour of my deep self-dive. What are your Enneagram types? Tell me about them in the comments. And do you agree with me? Do you think I'm a 4? Or do you think I'm a 4? Do you think I'm a 5? Do you think I'm a 6? Do you agree that I am right to think that I'm a 5? Let me know. You can get this test online. That's how I got mine. And thanks so much for listening. Please make sure you subscribe, donate. All of those things are available for you to do if you want to do them. And I appreciate them so much because they help me survive. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your life.